What's going on, everyone? If you like the videos I'm putting out on this channel, remember to hit that like button. And remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you get all my content right to your device every time I upload. And I thank you for your continued support. The golden-haired form that Goku achieved on planet Namek, Super Saiyan, was not the pinnacle of power for the Saiyan race, although it may have seemed like it at the time. Let's go back to Dragon Ball Manga Chapter 365 and Dragon Ball Z Episode 146. Goku awakened from his coma caused by the heart virus, healed up, and determined more than ever. He and Vegeta could both sense it. They both knew what they had to do. Go beyond the powers of a Super Saiyan. Discover what was Super Saiyan beyond Super Saiyan, and that would lead them into a quest of self-discovery, a quest of bonding with their sons, and a quest to discover the pinnacle of power. But along the way, they discovered some very interesting upgrades to Super Saiyan. And we're going to be talking about the first one here on this video, this edition of the Geekdom 101 Transformation Guide, as we discuss what is known in the English dub as Ascended Super Saiyan. That is not the correct name for this form. The correct name for this form is Super Saiyan Stage 2, or Super Saiyan Grade 2, Super Saiyajin Dai Ni Dankai. Let's get to it now. Before our heroes discovered what would be referred to as Super Saiyan 2, along the way they tapped into what was referred to as the Ichi Dankai no Henshin, transformations of the first stage. In other words, forms that went beyond the power of a Super Saiyan. And it was not until Goku truly discovered the nature of this power that he chose to completely bypass it, but that's a video for another day. For many years, these forms had several different fan-made terms, the oldest being from the early 90s website Toriyama.org, otherwise known as the 3 Steps Over the Edge blog, by a man known as Curtis Hoffman, who was one of the earliest English-speaking Dragon Ball fans on the internet, discussing the series before any of us could even dream of having websites, YouTube channels, or streams, or any of that. So Curtis Hoffman referred to these transformations as Ultra Super Saiyan, or USSJ, or Ultra Saiyajin, but those were sort of his interpretations of what the forms would actually be called. So if you've ever heard somebody say Ultra Super Saiyan, it's from Curtis Hoffman, but within the actual series, Goku refers it as Ichi Dankai no Henshin, transformations of the first stage, but Trunks and Vegeta refer to these as Super Saiyajin Dai Ni Dankai and Super Saiyajin Dai San Dankai, Stage 2 and Stage 3. And these titles would later be used in the Dragon Ball guidebooks as official mutations of the first Super Saiyan series of transformations. So for this video, we're going to focus only on Vegeta's upgraded form, which the Funimation dub chose to call Ascended Saiyan, which is a bad name because they would use the term Ascended Saiyan not just to describe Vegeta and Trunks' Stage 2 and Stage 3 forms, but also to describe Super Saiyan 2 for a while. And all of that was just a dub term. The official term, like I said, is Super Saiyan Grade 2, with Grade 1 being the original traditional form that Goku had already achieved on Namek, and that later on Vegeta and Trunks and Gohan would also achieve. So this grade form was first shown off by Vegeta when he left the Room of Spirit and Time. His intentions of going into the Room of Spirit and Time was not only to surpass Goku, which is always his goal for almost the entirety of Dragon Ball Z, but also to break the limitations of Super Saiyan, and he accomplished it to a degree. Vegeta confidently left the Room of Spirit and Time, or the Hyperbolic Time Chamber in the dub, to go confront Semi-Perfect Cell, which was Cell in his second form after absorbing 17. And this is when we first see Vegeta unlock this power, or not unlock it, but show us the power that he did unlock in the Room of Spirit and Time while training with future Trunks. So what happens is Vegeta powers up and his body mass, his actual size, increases. And not only is he taller, but also his muscles become astronomically larger. Plus, it appears like his hair gets a little bit thicker. If you're keeping track at home, to reference this, check out Dragon Ball Manga Chapter 377, correlating with Dragon Ball Z Episode 155. Vegeta refers to himself as Super Vegeta, which a lot of old power level charts on old Dragon Ball Z websites from the late 90s would actually refer to the Ultra Super Saiyan form or Grade 2 or whatever you want to call it as just Super Vegeta and Super Trunks. But again, it gets confusing because there's so many fan-made names here that so many fans used for so many years that you have to remember that at the end of the day, it's officially referred to as Grade 2 or Stage 2. So Vegeta shows that after being in the Room of Spirit and Time for the equivalent of 1 year, Vegeta was a changed man. Just a few episodes earlier, a few chapters before this, Vegeta was getting his ass handed to him by Android 18. She broke his arm and humiliated him in that fight. Now we have Vegeta facing off against Semi-Perfect Cell, who one-shotted Android 16 after absorbing 17 and is a serious threat. Even Super Namekian Piccolo at the hands of Cell's previous form almost died, so this Cell was the strongest villain they had faced up until this point. Well, Vegeta showed off his new body, and it was too much for Cell to the point where he couldn't do anything against Vegeta. So, of course, Cell being the intelligent character that he is, that also has Vegeta's genes, played to Vegeta's ego, vanity, and pride, tricking him into thinking that he might have a chance against him if he went perfect. So Vegeta allowed Cell to absorb 18, become perfect, and well, we all know that Vegeta's decision-making skills in the Cell Saga were really, really dumb because he got owned. But nonetheless, we find out that Vegeta was not the only one to discover this power because future Trunks, while in the Room of Spirit and Time, did also tap into Super Saiyan Grade 2 and actually went a step beyond. But we'll talk about that in the next video. Now, interestingly enough, in Dragon Ball Z episode 165, which correlates with manga chapter 387, Goku also discovers these Super Saiyan upgrades, but he quickly realizes that neither of these forms were effective enough to battle against a threat like Cell. Now, a lot of fans have always said that the first Super Saiyan form to ever truly have the electricity was SS2, but that is not correct because with this transformation, when you see Vegeta really powering up, specifically when he goes for the final flash, you see the electrical discharge all over his body coming out. So the electrical discharge was used more so as a visual aid, as a way to amplify the power. Obviously with Super Saiyan 2, it was just there, even when Gohan wasn't even powered up, because it's a really high level of power. But even in this level, you see it there. You see the harnessing of the power from these warriors. But the big handicap of this form is the abnormal overuse of energy. The energy consumption in these forms is too taxing on the body for it to actually work in a long, drawn-out battle. Sort of like what happened with Frieza in his golden form and his 100% form, where the power he was wielding was way too much and his stamina dropped quickly. And when you add that with the fact that Perfect Cell was an absolute monster, this is why Vegeta was taken out with a single elbow to the back and put to sleep. Now, this wouldn't be the last time that we saw these forms. In fact, it's kind of interesting. So in the manga and the anime, there's a big difference here. When Trunks and Vegeta and the Z Fighters face off against the Cell Juniors in the Cell game, in the manga version, the way it was drawn, it appears like they're using their traditional Super Saiyan forms or maybe even Stage 4, which again, I will cover in a separate video. But in the anime version, you can clearly see Trunks and Vegeta's muscle mass increase as they are using this power. And of course, there was a very brief cameo in Dragon Ball Super where we see the forms again. And if you really want to include this, Dragon Ball Z movies 8 and 9, the Broly and Bojack movies, we also see Vegeta and future Trunks using these in-between forms in those films. Super Saiyan Grade 2 was useful for a time, but wound up being a form that was in no way really necessary. But they did pay an homage to it later on when Vegeta used his blue evolution form. And when he did, he sort of resembled the muscle mass he had during this form. But that was the anime staff doing an homage or a tribute or a wink wink to Super Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. On the next edition of the Geekdom 101 Transformation Guide, we're going to look at Trunks' form, Ultra Super Saiyan, which is the fan name, but the official name is Super Saiyan Grade 3, when he gets really big, but really slow. We'll talk about that next time.